Welcome to Master Your Money, Budgeting, Saving, and Debt-Free Living. I'm your host, Nate Tanner. On this show, we use the Triggator triangle, budget, save, and pay off debt to help you build a spending plan that fits your life, grow your savings with purpose, and knock out debt with confidence. And today, we're not talking about numbers. We're talking about meaning. Because sometimes your spending plan looks good on paper, but it feels off in your soul. You're paying the bills, checking the boxes, maybe even hitting your goals, but something's missing. It's like your money is moving, but not in the direction that matters most to you. That's where today's episode comes in, the values check-in. We're going to walk through how to reconnect your money with your core values, the things that matter most to you, not just the things that cost you the most. You'll learn how to quickly identify your top 3 to 5 values, run a values audit on your last 30 days of spending, and build a paycheck plan that reflects your priorities, not just your bills. Because here's the truth. Alignment creates momentum. When your money matches your values, your spending plan doesn't just work, it feels right. And don't worry, this isn't about guilt, shame, or perfection. It's about clarity. It's about progress. It's about leading your money with purpose. As one of our great favorites, Rafiki, says in The Lion King, the past can hurt, but the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. Today, we're learning, we're reflecting, we're realigning. So whether you're pacing the kitchen, scrolling through receipts, or just trying to remember where your last paycheck went, this is the moment you pause, reflect, and realign. Because when your money reflects what matters most, your life follows. How to identify your top 3 to 5 core values and why they matter in your spending plan. Let's start with a question that might feel a little philosophical for a money podcast. What actually matters to you? Not what's urgent, not what's trending, not what your neighbor's doing with their bonus check. I mean the stuff that makes you feel grounded, purposeful, and proud. The stuff that when you spend money on it, feels like a win, even if it's not flashy. That's your values. And today we're going to help you name them, claim them, and use them to lead your spending plan. Because here's the truth, your values are your compass. And if your spending plan doesn't reflect them, it's no wonder budgeting feels like a chore. You're trying to follow a map that doesn't lead you to where you want to go. Why values matter in your spending plan. Most people build their spending plan around bills, rent, groceries, gas, subscriptions, and yes, those things matter, but if your plan only reflects what's due and not what's true, you'll always feel like something's missing. According to a 2024 study by the Financial Wellness Institute, 71% of Americans say that their spending doesn't reflect their values. But only 18% have ever done a values-based audit. That's like driving every day without checking your GPS. You're moving, but you're not sure if you're going in the right direction. Your values are your compass, and not just any compass. Think Pirates of the Caribbean. Remember Jack Sparrow's compass? It didn't point north, it pointed to what he wanted most. That's what your values should do. Point you and your spending plan to what you want most. When your money reflects your values, budgeting stops feeling like restriction and it starts feeling like alignment. How to identify your core values? Let's get practical. You don't need a personality test or a weekend retreat. You just need a quiet moment and willingness to be honest. Here's a simple exercise I use with coaching clients. And yes, I've done this myself. Step 1, brain dump. Write down everything that matters to you. Don't filter, don't edit, just let it out. Faith, family, health, creativity, freedom, adventure, stability, generosity, growth, simplicity, joy, learning, community, integrity, peace. You might just end up with 20 to 30 words, and that's great. Step 2, group and trim. Now, group similar values together. Adventure and travel might go in the same bucket. Peace and simplicity, those might be cousins. Then trim your list down to what you would call your 3 to 5 core values. These are ones that make you say, yes, that's me. Now, if you get stuck, ask yourself, what do I want my life to stand for? What do I want my money to support? What do I feel proud of spending on? Step 3, define what each value looks like in real life. This is where the magic happens. Take each value and ask, what does this look like in my spending? Let's say one of your values is family. This might show up as a weekly dinner out with your kids, saving for a family vacation, supporting a relative in need. If your value is health, this might be a gym membership that you actually use, groceries that support your energy, therapy or coaching that helps you grow. If your value is generosity, maybe it's giving to your church or favorite nonprofit, picking up the tab for a friend, supporting a cause that moves you. This is how values become visible. This is how your spending plan becomes a reflection of your priorities, not just payments. Remember Inside Out, the Pixar movie where each emotion had its own personality? Joy, sadness, anger, fear, disgust. They weren't just feelings, they were drivers. Your values are like that. They're the drivers of your financial decisions. And if you don't know who's behind the wheel, your money might be headed somewhere that you're never meant to go. So today, we're putting joy back in the driver's seat, or peace, or generosity, or whatever value makes you feel like, yes, that's the life I want to build. Your spending plan flows from your values, from what matters most. So name them, define them, and let them lead. Because when your money reflects your values most, your plan doesn't just work, it feels right. How to run a values audit on your last 30 days of spending. So now that you've named your values, your compass, your Jack Sparrow, this is what I really want guide, it's time to see how your money is actually following it. Because here's the thing. Most people don't overspend because they're reckless. They overspend because they're disconnected from their values, disconnected from their goals, disconnected from the why behind the swipe. That's where the values audit comes in. This isn't a budget review. This isn't a shameful spiral. This is a clarity tool, a way to look at your spending and ask, does it reflect what matters most to me? Let's walk through it. First, pull that last 30 days of spending. Start with your bank statements. You can use a budgeting app, a spreadsheet, or go full old school and print it out with a highlighter. Yes, I still do that sometimes. There is something about seeing it on paper that hits you different. You're not looking for perfection. You're looking for patterns. Second, categorize every transaction. Now, this isn't the categories that we've talked about before. We're going to go line by line and assign each spending transaction into one of 3 buckets. 1, aligned. This spending reflects your values. 2, neutral. It's necessary. Think like 4 walls, food, shelter, transportation, utilities. 3, misaligned. It doesn't reflect your values and it doesn't move you forward. Let's say one of your values is health. That $60 for a gym membership you actually use, that's aligned. The $47 in fast food because you were too tired to cook, probably misaligned. If your value is family, that $100 for a weekend trip to visit your parents, aligned. That $80 impulse buy on Amazon that no one remembers a week later, probably not. This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. Remember in The Matrix when Neo finally sees the code behind the world? That's what this audit does. It helps you see the code behind your spending, not just what you bought, but why. And once you see it, You can't unsee it. You start noticing every swipe, every tap, every just this once moment, and you start asking, does this match my values? That's not restriction, that's reclamation. Third, tally the totals. Once you've categorized everything, total up each bucket. How much of your spending was aligned? How much was neutral? How much was misaligned? You might be surprised, and most people they are. And again, this isn't about guilt. This is about getting honest. If 70% of your spending is aligned, amazing. You're living your values. If it's 30%, that's not failure, that's feedback. That's a signal that your spending plan needs a tune-up. What if it's not aligned? Let's talk about the moment that might have a little sting behind it. What if your audit shows that your money and your values are out of sync? First, breathe. You're not alone. You're not broken. You're just waking up. Second, get curious, not critical. Ask, what was going on this last month? Was I stressed, burnt out, distracted? Was the spending to cope, to numb, to avoid? Then ask, what would alignment look like this upcoming month? What's one small shift I could make? Because this isn't about overhauling your life. It's about realigning that next paycheck. The Triggator triangle in action. Let's bring it back to the framework. Budget. Use your values to guide your paycheck plan. Assign dollars to what matters most. Save. Build peace of mind funds that reflect your priorities, like a fun fund for your family adventures and that alligator fund for seasonal giving. Pay off debt. If freedom is a value, every extra payment is a vote for that value. This is how you turn your values into visible progress. Your spending plan, it isn't just a list of numbers. It's a reflection of your life. And when your money starts matching your values, that's when the budgeting action stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like becoming. So run the audit, look at the code, and start leading your money like it actually matters, because it does. What to do when your money and values don't match without shame. When the audit stings. So you've done your values audit. You've looked at your last 30 days of spending, and maybe what you found didn't exactly match what you had hoped. You value peace, but your transactions look like a stress spiral. You value family, but your money is going to convenience, not connection. You value growth, but your dollars are stuck in survival mode. And that realization, that can sting. But here's the truth. It isn't failure, it's feedback. And feedback is a gift, especially when it comes without shame. Because the goal of the values check-in isn't to make you feel bad. It's to help you lead better, to help you see where your money has been drifting and gently guide it back towards what matters most. Realignment over overhaul. This is where most people get stuck. They see the misalignment and think, I've messed it all up. But you haven't. You've just been budgeting without a compass. And now you have got one. You don't need to fix everything all at once. In fact, please don't. That is how people burn out and give up. Instead, pick one value, just one, and ask, what would it look like to reflect this in my next paycheck? If you value generosity, maybe that's setting aside $10 to give, even if it's small. If you value health, maybe that's shifting $40 from takeout to groceries that fuel you. If you value connection, maybe that's budgeting for a coffee date with a friend instead of another solo scroll session. This isn't about big moves. It's about intentional ones, leading with values in tight seasons. Let's get real for a second. What if you're in that survival mode? What if your paycheck barely covers the basics? You can still lead with values. Because values aren't about how much you spend, they're about how you align what you have. You can reflect peace by simplifying. You can reflect faith by prioritizing what matters. You can reflect joy by finding it in small, intentional choices. Even if your spending plan is tight, your values can still show up in how you lead it. The triangle as a filter. This is where the Triggator triangle becomes more than a framework. It becomes a filter. Budget becomes a way to assign dollars to your values, not just your bills. Save becomes a way to protect what matters most, your peace, your future, your joy. Pay off debt becomes a way to reclaim your freedom so you can live your values more fully. When you start leading your money this way, you stop feeling like you're chasing someone else's vision of success. You start building a spending plan that actually fits your life. Not the life you think you should have, the life you are living, the one you're leading, the one you're building on purpose. Remember in Moana when she's lost at sea, questioning everything, and then boom, she remembers who she is. She's not a voyager, she's a wayfinder. She doesn't need a map. She needs her internal compass, her values to guide her. That's you. You don't need a perfect spending history. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to remember what matters most and start steering your money in that direction. Because when you lead with values, even a small course correction can change your entire destination. So if your audit revealed some misalignment, good. That means you're paying attention. That means you're ready to lead. And the next time you sit down to plan your paycheck, don't just ask what to do, ask what matters. Because when your money reflects your values, your life follows. You've made it to the end of the values check-in. And if you're still here, you're not just curious about where your money's going, you're ready to lead it with intention. In this episode, we walked through how to identify your top 3 to 5 core values and why they matter in your spending plan, how to run a values audit on your last 30 days of spending, what to do when your money and values don't match without shame or perfectionism, and how to build a paycheck plan that reflects your priorities, not just the payments. Because here's the truth, your money isn't just a tool. It's a reflection of your direction. And when your spending plan aligns with your values, your life starts moving with purpose. Today's challenge, it's simple but powerful. Pick one of your core values and assign money to it in your next paycheck. That's it. Not all 5, not a full overhaul, just one. If you value connection, maybe that's $15 for lunch with someone who matters. If you value peace, maybe it's canceling a subscription that's been adding noise. If you value growth, maybe it's setting aside $10 for a book or a course. Because when you assign even a small amount to what matters most, you're not just budgeting, you're building alignment. And alignment, that builds momentum. Got a value you're ready to lead with, a spending plan that finally feels like it fits, or a moment where your money and your mission finally clicked? Email me at podcast@Triggator.com. I'd love to hear your story. Or you can message me on Instagram, Facebook, or X @Triggator. If this episode helped you reconnect your money with your mission, follow the show so your next paycheck plan starts with purpose. Leave a review, especially if this helped you ditch guilt and lead with clarity. Share this episode with a friend who is tired of budgeting like a robot and ready to lead like a human. And don't forget to follow @Triggator on social media for behind the scenes content, encouragement, and a few memes that might just make your day. Coming up next time, when income isn't consistent, how to build a spending plan that still works. If your income is more roller coaster than rhythm, freelance, commission, tips, or seasonal shifts, this one is for you. We'll walk through how to build a paycheck-based plan based on your lowest expected income, separate fixed and flexible expenses, and use alligator funds and buffer savings to smooth out the chaos. Because even when your income isn't predictable, your plan can still be powerful. Remember, your values aren't just words on a list. They're blueprints for the life you're building. You are the designer of your destiny. So lead your money like it matters, because it does. And when your spending plan reflects what matters most, your life follows. Thanks for listening to Master Your Money, Budgeting, Saving, and Debt-Free Living. I'm your host, Nate Tanner. See you next time.